Every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, we go live and I give you everything you need to add six figures of bookkeeping revenue to your business. So I am live on YouTube, in my Facebook group, and on LinkedIn. So you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, make sure you're notified of my latest videos, join my private Facebook group, and connect with me on LinkedIn. The links are in the description of this video. So if you're on Facebook specifically, there's a link on in the description where you can click a link and give my streaming software access to see your name and profile. And that way we can interact during the live stream today. So we're going to talk about a really cool topic, something I get asked all the time. It's what I would do differently if I was starting my bookkeeping business today. Okay. As you know, I went through a lot of trial and error to get this behemoth of a bookkeeping business I have started. And I got there, but I could have gotten there a lot more quickly. So we're going to talk about the two biggest things I could have done differently and that I would do differently if I had a chance to do it all over again. So again, we're live. So I want to hear from you. I want to answer any questions you have as we go through things today. And I will go ahead and answer them right on this live stream. So again, the topic is going to be what I would do differently, but feel free to reach out and ask questions about anything, any questions that you have regarding starting and growing a six-figure bookkeeping business. Okay, so just go ahead, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, type them straight into the chat and we will get to those. So without further ado, what would I do differently if I were starting my bookkeeping business today? And I'm going to start with the biggest thing. Okay. And the biggest thing is I would have started advertising sooner. I would have started paying to advertise my business sooner. Okay. And now what does that mean? I started paying to advertise my business, and I'm talking about like Google ads, search ads, which by the way are very effective for getting bookkeeping clients. They're very complicated, but they're very effective because business owners who are going to Google and typing in, bookkeeper near me or find a bookkeeper, things like that, they are actively looking for a bookkeeper. Okay. As opposed to Facebook, where people are just scrolling and you're kind of interruption marketing, which is, you're trying to stand out while they're looking at cat pictures and pictures of food and things like that, arguing over politics, whatever the case may be. You're trying to stand out. That can also be effective, but Google is really, really effective. And so I started advertising on Google and Facebook when I was about 75,000 in revenue, $75,000 a year in revenue. And I wish I would have started sooner. If I had it all over to do it all over again, I would have started sooner. As bookkeepers and as small business owners in general, I think a lot of people have this misconception that, hey, we're small businesses. We're not like Walmart or Coca-Cola or Pepsi or any of those other brands that need to do advertising. For some reason, there's a feeling, and I'll just, it's amongst lots of small business owners, but specifically bookkeepers, there's this feeling, I've worked and talked with a lot of them, that we shouldn't have to pay for advertising. Word of mouth should be enough. Referrals should be enough. We're different. We don't need to advertise. We might not need to advertise on television. Okay. But advertising is the lifeblood of all businesses. If you don't generate leads, you're not able to convert those leads into clients. And if you don't have clients, you don't have a business. Now, yes, referrals, word of mouth, those types of things absolutely can work, but they are slow. Okay. I can't force clients to refer me. I can keep suggesting it and hope that the opportunity comes up, but I can't force that to happen. If I'm networking, I can't control how many people are in that room that I'm networking with. If, for example, I'm doing, and I don't recommend those things, by the way, if you enjoy doing those things, go ahead and network and set up referral relationships and things like that. But what I really recommend is online marketing. And online marketing is so much better because you can reach more people. But still, whether it be putting up a Google business profile or a ProAdvisor profile, again, I'm subject to search volume. I can't force people to come find me. Advertising allows me to be proactive. Okay, it allows me to be proactive and reach as many people as I want to. Now, when you're starting out, most people go through an evolution. They start with things that are free, and so we're talking about maybe networking and setting up referral relationships, but setting up your pro advisor profile on Google My Business and things like that. And those things are great. Those things can get you quick wins, get you a bunch of clients quickly. But I'm talking about, hey, I was the 38, 40-year-old bookkeeper wanting to start a family and start a life. Like, I didn't have time to waste. So for me, time is, for all of us, our most valuable resource. But for me, I felt like I was way behind. So until I got to 75K, around that neighborhood in revenue, I was just relying on those marketing strategies that, where people are kind of coming to me and finding me. There are some things like LinkedIn where you can be a little bit more proactive, Facebook groups where you can be proactive, but there are also those things. You're being proactive, but they're taking up your time. Okay. They're taking up your time. You've got to spend your time to get results there. Advertising solves both of those two problems. Number one, the problem where you're subject to however many people are reaching out to us, as well as not taking up our time, not having to be proactive on LinkedIn and things like that. Again, those things are great to start off with, but I wish I would have recognized the value of advertising a lot sooner. I probably would have started advertising in around the $25,000 to $50,000 a year range. So the organic stuff is enough to get you started and start getting clients. But if you really want to press that fast forward button, advertising is the way to go. And the mindset is, a lot of people, and again, I'll just talk specifically about bookkeepers. Like, we're a pretty conservative group of people, right? A lot of us come from the mindset of preserving money. Okay, preserving money. We've got money, we want to preserve it. All right, we don't want to spend it on things that we don't see value in, obviously, but for the most part, we kind of go overboard with that concept. The people that are really successful out there, okay, the people that are really successful, I'm talking about whether it's running really successful small businesses or people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and the rich of the rich. The one thing they all have in common is they use money as a tool. They use money as a tool. And once you sort of start to look at it like that, everything changes. It changed for me when I started to look at it like that. Money can be that tool, if invested properly, can generate huge returns. But if we have this mindset where we want to preserve money at all costs, then we're never going to be able to use money as a tool. Let me give you kind of a concrete example. I used to, back when poker was huge, like online poker, or not online poker, but like you'd see it on TV all the time. I used to really be into poker. And I had this mindset when I would play. Sometimes I'd play in very small games, right? I wouldn't spend a lot of money, but I had this mindset of trying to preserve money. Okay, trying to preserve money. So when somebody made a big bet towards me, if I wasn't super strong, my hand wasn't super strong, I'd be in a habit of folding quite a bit, and that's not a good place to be. What the pros do, and what the people that are really good at poker do, is they're able to divorce themselves from the value of this money that they have in front of them. And instead, they look at their stack, how much money they have, as a tool. So as opposed to just betting and calling when you have great cards, when they have bad cards, they bluff. And they say, you know what? This is a big risk. This is a chance I'm taking. But this money, I'm kind of divorced myself from the value of it. It's a tool now. It's a tool that I can use to potentially get this other person to fold. Okay. And the ones that are really successful are the ones that just completely divorce themselves from that money, and they're able to make these crazy plays. They're able to trust their instincts and use that money as a tool. And that's the mindset that, I'm not talking about gambling. Okay, let's not gamble, but I would encourage people that are just starting their bookkeeping business or are in that 25 to 50K a year range, start looking at money as a tool. And when it comes to advertising, money is a tool that can do two things. Number one, it can buy you your time back. That time that you're investing in doing your own marketing is time that you don't need to be doing your own marketing. You could pay somebody to do your marketing. Okay. Once you're doing around 25, 50K in revenue, you've got clients to service. Okay. You've got clients to service. And so you're doing that client work, you're doing your bookkeeping work. But then if you're also trying to continue to grow, you're doing your marketing work. All right. Advertising allows you to buy that time back. Now I'm not doing any marketing. Somebody else is doing that for me. Now I have this extra time. I have this extra time to spend with family. I have this extra time to spend with doing the things I love, whatever the case it is. But it allows you to do that, number one. And number two, it allows you to grow more quickly and help you reach whatever goal you have set more quickly. Okay. Let me just give you an example. And I won't get too specific with numbers, but advertising allows you to speed up that curve. You pay somebody else to generate, leads for you, and you just call and close those leads. You can make that happen really, really quickly. Okay. That's the beauty of advertising. You can start today and get calls today or tomorrow. That's the reality of it. When it comes to organic marketing and just doing free stuff and doing the stuff that it takes your time, it takes longer. It takes longer. Can you still get to, let's say, six figures? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can get to six figures, but it takes longer. And as you get older, as you get a little bit more experienced in business, you start to realize that concept that I was talking about, that money is a tool and money will allow you to buy that time back. If I can speed up my results, I'm able to live my dream life, if you will, a lot sooner. And that additional time it takes, if you were to do it the free way, is time that doesn't need to be spent, is time at the end of the day, at the end of your life, you'll never be able to get back. Okay. And we'll look back on those things and we might not say, gee, what were the opportunities I had to expedite my results and buy back my time? We'll probably be thinking about time with family, but that's the connection that we can make now. Okay. There's no reason to wait for a year, 2 years to hit six figures when you can do that in 6 months. Okay, there's no reason to wait that long. So whether it be an additional 6 months it takes you by doing it the free way, that 6 months, I think we can all agree, if we, try not to get a little too morbid, but we fast forward to, being in our twilight years, that 6 months represents a long period of time that we would love to get back. So those are the two most powerful things that advertising can do for you. They help you buy back your time. So it frees it up now. And number two, they help you reach that dream life a lot sooner. I wish I would have done that. I absolutely wish I would have done that sooner. But hey, you live and you learn. You live and you learn. I did a video a couple of weeks ago that talked about how to find a good marketing agency, because Google ads are challenging. You can learn them on your own, but they're challenging. Same with Facebook ads. You can do it on your own, but it's a little challenging. I like to recommend that we take the advice that we give to our clients. Hey, don't do your own bookkeeping. Focus on what you're good at. Grow your business. We should take that our own advice. Focus on bookkeeping. Focus on taking the calls with prospects, not on marketing. Let's focus on what we're good at. Of course, as you're getting started, you'll probably wear a lot of the different hats. Marketing, if you've got a home office, janitorial, you got to empty the trash, client delivery, you've got to wear those different hats. But as you start to grow and get a couple of clients, it starts to become an opportunity for you to use that money that you're generating to start just having someone else get you to the finish line a lot quicker. So it can be challenging to find a marketing agency that gets good results, let alone one that focuses just on bookkeepers. If anybody needs help with that, feel free to reach out to me and I might be able to point you in the right direction. But entertaining the idea of using money as a tool, okay, will help you buy back your time and get to your goals a lot more quickly. So reach out to me if you have any questions about that. But that's the first thing that I would do differently if I were starting over again. So I got a couple of comments. So let's just go through a few things. Kendra. Hey, Kendra. You're saying, do you think it's still possible to get clients with the potential recession starting? Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, there are even coronavirus, the economy got hit really hard with coronavirus, and a record number of small businesses started. Believe it or not. Same thing with recession. Bookkeeping is something that every business needs. And it could be argued, and I would argue for the fact that small businesses need us more than ever when there's a recession, because as small business owners or as bookkeepers, we're helping them uh, keep the financial foundation of their business sound. Okay. And we're helping them. Like, the work we do gives them the information they need to run their business and to run it more efficiently. So when potentially cash starts to crunch and become cash flow starts to become an issue, we're there with those solutions. Too many small business owners are under the impression that, hey, like, in order to make more money, I just need to work harder and get more customers. And that is one piece of the puzzle. That is only one piece of the puzzle. So you've got to have a comprehensive view on your business, how it's performing. Are labor costs getting out of control? Is our marketing generating a return? All of those things. And that's the work we do. So absolutely, Kendra. Right now we've got people in my mentorship program getting clients every day, recession or not. Recession or not, every business that's open needs to be doing bookkeeping. It's a legal requirement. And number two, when there's a recession, if things are getting tight, then they need us more than ever to help them navigate through those times. Okay, so absolutely, you can get clients. There's also some industries that boom during a recession. There just are. Okay. The really cool thing about a bookkeeping business, this is what I love. People ask me, they talk about the risk of starting a bookkeeping business, the risk. And I say, okay, well, so you've got, your full-time job, right? And, they say, yeah. And I say, so that's secure, right? And they say, yeah. And then we start talking about all of these stories in the news where these huge companies are laying off people, small businesses are laying off people. When you're working a full-time job, a 9 to 5, you've got all your eggs in one basket. Okay. If something were to happen and that particular business goes under or has to go through layoffs, or maybe that specific industry is going through a tough time and they're going through layoffs, you've got all your eggs in one basket. In other words, you're totally reliant on one business. As a bookkeeping business owner, and I've done videos on like working with specific industries, and I like to work with lots of clients in lots of different industries. If you're working with lots of clients in a lot of different industries, if one industry gets hit hard, or if one business goes under, guess what? You're diversified. Okay, you've got revenue coming in from lots of different types of businesses, lots of different sources, and you're protected. Okay, during coronavirus, some businesses didn't do well. Other businesses did great. A lot of businesses just made it through. So, there wasn't really anything to worry about. We've got lots and lots of clients here. We've lost one, and it was our smallest client. It was kind of a blessing in disguise. So absolutely, bookkeeping is a great way to protect yourself against, these fickle market forces that we have no control over. So good question, Kendra, though. Let's see. Darnell, you're asking, are there any other bookkeeping platform/software other than QB that you'd recommend? No, I wouldn't. QuickBooks is the largest. There are more clients there than bookkeepers can handle. There's really no need for it. Now, I will say this, like, it is your business. If there's something like, there are other platforms like Xero out there. If, it's got I don't know what the market share is. It's certainly nowhere near QuickBooks. So I'm like, hey, like, just go where the money is, just go where the clients are. But hey, if you like that software and you want to develop a proficiency, go ahead and do that. Okay. Whatever you do, focus on one and one only. The more you try to spread yourself thin, and this is actually a preview into the second thing I would have done differently if I were starting my bookkeeping business over today. Focus on less. Okay, focus on less so that you can be efficient, and everybody's kind of on an assembly line. Do not try to learn all platforms and all pieces of software. Okay, that's a surefire to not multiply your revenue, but to divide it, because it's going to divide your focus. Good question, Darnell. John, hey John. You're saying, Bill, I know you have a CPA too. How would you respond to a potential client who says you may be overqualified? I think it's the fear of being too expensive or that CPAs are tax returns only. One of the ways I get across, because again, having your license, some people say, well, you have your CPA license, it must be easy for you. And it's a double-edged sword. When you have a CPA license, for example, some business owners think they want a one-stop shop. Hey, this guy could do both my taxes and bookkeeping. That's great, right? So in that way, it's kind of a benefit. However, lots of clients think, I don't need a CPA doing my bookkeeping. That's going to be expensive. All right. When it comes to not having your CPA license, the opposite applies. So whether you have a license or not has zero impact on how you get clients or whether you get clients or how much they pay you or any of that stuff. Okay. In my marketing messaging, I say something like, working with a CPA helps you, maximize profits. Spoiler alert, it's affordable. I say that like right out of the gate because I have to combat the fact that people are going to think, hey, a CPA is going to be really, really expensive. But at the end of the day, it's really important to remember that clients only care about one thing, and that's whether or not you can solve the problems they're having in their business so they can reach their goals. That's it. As long as you can clearly communicate that, everything else becomes secondary. How much you charge, your experience, your licenses, your certification, all of that stuff. People are just looking for a partner to help them solve their problems. Okay, that's it. So a client that says you're overqualified, I'd say, what makes you say that? Well, you have a CPA license. How do you feel like that might affect our working relationship? Drill down to see what it is, because you say I think it's the fear of being too expensive or that CPAs do taxes only. Let's find out what their concern is. They said, well, you're a CPA, you're probably going to charge a lot. I'd say, you know what, you might be surprised. You might be surprised. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what your needs are, what I'm going to be able to help you to do in your business. You may be surprised. Ask some questions. Try to get very clear, because them saying that you're overqualified that's not the problem. That's not the problem. Okay. Let's find out what what that means to them. Okay. When they say you're overqualified, what does that mean to them? I'll go through a couple more chats, and then I'm going to jump to the number 2 thing that I would do differently if I were starting my business over today. Let's see. Someone on Facebook is saying, how about hiring bookkeepers to do the work for your business? How to go about that? That's an absolutely great thing to do. We have lots of people in my mentorship program that some people, they don't even work with their first client. They get trained up, they start working on marketing, or they outsource the marketing, and they just take the prospect phone calls, the consultation calls, and then they outsource the work immediately. We've got people that outsource it to people overseas. We've got people that outsource it domestically. It can be great. It can be a great business model. It allows you to, make more and potentially work less in your business. But I can't see your name. Feel free on Facebook to click that link in the description. And then if you want to ask another question about this to be a little bit more specific when you say how to go about that. It's as simple as making sure your lead generation is dialed in, so you're getting a bunch of calls coming in. And then number 2, finding the right staff. Okay. And then I'll do one more, and then we will jump back into the number 2 reason. Number 2 thing I would do differently if I were starting all over. Is it possible to schedule a Zoom meeting with a prospective client only on the weekend since I work full time? Absolutely. I wouldn't necessarily feel like I had to do Zoom though. I would just do a phone call. For prospects, it's just a phone call. Let's find out if they're a good fit first. Let's do a phone call. And those phone calls, when I was working a 9 to 5, and I think I did a video about this recently, but I took prospect phone calls before work, after work, on the lunch breaks, and on other breaks. I just scheduled calls around those things. All right. And that's how we have lots of people in the program that are starting a business on the side of a 9 to 5 job, and that's how they do it. Okay. But don't worry about doing Zoom calls. But small business clients, you'll find they're working all the time. I know a lot of my clients were working on the weekends. And so I spoke to them on the weekends. They're small business owners. They're trying to make things work. Right. So you can talk to them on the weekends too. All right, cool. Any other questions or comments, feel free to type them into the chat or the comments, depending on where you're watching this. And let's jump into the number 2 thing I would have done differently if I were starting my bookkeeping business owner over today. And it's kind of related to the first one, which is I would have started advertising a lot sooner. But it is, I would have been a lot more selective about the clients I worked with from day one. Okay, from day one. As we get started, as we start our bookkeeping businesses, it's very easy for us to say, okay, I need revenue. I've got to get clients. And then we end up taking whatever clients we can find. We end up offering discounts to clients because, hey, we want our first client. Maybe we think, well, I'm not super confident just yet, so I'll offer this client a discount because I'm going to take a little longer. I'm going to, learn a little bit while I'm doing their books. And there's just no benefit to anybody to do that. Okay. I would have been a lot more selective. And here's why. When you are not selective, you're taking on the wrong clients. And the opportunity cost of taking on the wrong clients is immense. And I'm going to talk about what that means. But when I say wrong clients, I'm talking about clients who don't pay us what we're worth. Okay, either because we're giving them discounts or because, hey, like nothing. The wrong clients are the ones that are difficult to work with. The wrong clients are clients that have crazy needs or like outside of the box needs. They're not like kind of they don't fit into your workflows. In other words, they don't follow common practices. Like they might need accounts receivable work, but you have to access third-party systems to get that information to create those invoices. They may have real convoluted processes. They might be on other software. Like you might be working or wanting to work only on QuickBooks Online, but they have QuickBooks Desktop, but you're like, okay, I'll take them because it's something. And those are the wrong clients, and they hold you back again from getting to where you want to be and living your dream life as quickly as possible. And that's really our goal, because like, why wait? And here's how they do that. One of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves out there is something is better than nothing. Okay, well, this client, my minimum is $300 an hour, we might be saying to ourselves, but this client wants to pay $25 an hour. It's like hourly, which I shouldn't be doing anyway. And if you add up the hours, it's not my minimum, but something is better than nothing. And that is just the biggest lie. Okay, that is the biggest lie. And what do I mean by that? Well, you're going to take that client now, and you're going to have all kinds of problems with that client, right? You got hourly billing, and they're going to look at how many hours. Why are we spending so much time on doing this? Why are you spending so much time doing that? You're tracking your time. You're having to track your time. You're doing work where you're being underpaid. Okay, so maybe you're making a couple $100 an hour. Maybe you're making a couple $100 or a month on that client, but that couple $100 a month that you're working on that client, that time it takes to do that work is time that you could invest in getting a client that pays you what you're worth. It might take you 2 months to get the client that pays you $1,000 a month. But what's happened after 2 months? Okay. In scenario one, when you're doing the bookkeeping, after 2 months, you've made $400. Okay. Hey, something's better than nothing, right? Well, if you would have said no to that client, keeping yourself free to do the work that it takes to get the clients that are going to pay you what you're worth, after 2 months, you would have signed the client that has made you $1,000. Okay. And now that client can be the foundation for a really successful business where people pay you what you're worth, as opposed to you got this $200 a month client, and maybe after 3 or 4 months, you've added a $1,000 a month client. But the reality is, in the meantime, you've added a couple other clients that didn't pay you what you're worth. And so now you've got this foundation of clients that don't pay you what you're worth. Okay. And you might be saying, well, that's fine. I would just get rid of those clients once I brought on the $1,000 a month clients. And I'm here to ask you this question. Okay. The time it takes you, let's go back to the first scenario where it takes you 2 months. to find $1,000 a month client. And in the meantime, you've been doing work for this client that pays you $400, $200 a month, and you're tracking your time and you're working with this client, you're being underpaid. The clients that pay the least are the ones that give us the most trouble. Okay. They have the most questions. They have the most needs. If you've been doing this for any length of time, you know that to be true. Why, if at the end of 2 months, you're making $600 more by focusing on your marketing, by focusing on, you know, the things that you need to do to find the clients that pay you what you're worth, why would you spend any amount of time working with $400, working on that client that you made $400 from? That's time that you could spend on so many other things. And whether it's on your business or spending time with people you love or whatever it is. Okay. Why would you spend any time doing that? And you might say, well, because it's an extra $400. And, again, that opportunity cost, that's time that you're not able to get back. That's time that you could be spending on the things you love to do. Okay. So if that's what we're able to do, if you're able to do that, why not do that? Okay. Focus on the things that work. So this whole concept of something is better than nothing, it's a myth. It's really not. It holds us back from doing the things that we could be doing. Okay. And that could be getting us further ahead. Because trust me, if you bring on that $400 a month client, you're not stopping there. It's not going to be the only $400 a month client or $200 a month client you bring on. You get into that mindset where you start having to offer discounts, or you work hourly, or you work with people that aren't. It's a whole mindset that starts to kind of snowball. Okay. And then people don't just get out of that. So why do that when you don't have to do that? Same thing when it comes to clients who we determine based on the either the scope of work to be done for them, or just the type of personality that the business owner is. They're going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. Either there's just lots of moving parts. And again, why work with a client like that when we can get clients that pay us what we're worth, that are, if we have our lead generation dialed in, that are more, that we can systematize, that we can put on an assembly line. Okay. If we can get clients that are somewhat similar, same accounting platform, same general processes for doing the work, we can pump out that work like crazy. We can also create documentation that helps show others how to do the work. Okay. So if we wanted to offload the work, somebody asked earlier about outsourcing the work. Okay. If most of our clients are very, very similar, we can make that very, very easy. Okay. Somebody new can hit the ground running like that. Okay. We got to have our lead generation in order to do that. But when it comes to clients that are difficult, let's remember that clients are people too. And I don't know about you, but I've met plenty of people in my life that were difficult. Okay. And one of the most difficult people I've met in my life happened to be a client. Okay. A client who screamed at me so loud on the phone that this was when I was working for an accounting firm. So loud on the phone. I mean, it was not on speaker, but like I had to pull it away from my ear, and the entire office could hear her screaming. Okay. What happened was somebody else was working on her books, and that person left the company. And this was my first phone call with this person. And their father was a CPA. So she felt like she knew a lot about accounting and just exploded on the phone about hourly billing. Why did we spend so much time doing this? These things are wrong. This is someone who had, they had 2 locations, and I don't want to get too specific, but they bought, they had fruit, like a fruit bowl out, for their people, the clients that would walk in. And this was, they'd buy a bag of apples from the store. And of course we were splitting everything up by location, so she could see how each location was doing. But so she would go and buy a bag of apples from the grocery store. And so some apples would go to this location, some apples would go to that location. Bag of apples, I don't know, $4. And she wanted to split that between the two, that expense between the 2 locations. First of all, there's a cost benefit issue there that, to get into. But second off, she wanted to split them up by the number of apples that went to each location. So total number of apples in the bag, divide, the number of apples that went to location one divided by the total number of apples in the bag, and split the $4 up like that. That's what she wanted to do. So this person was just a challenging personality to work with. And there's no reason to get to work with somebody like that. Again, something is better than nothing is going to hold us back. I would have done that differently. I would have, and again, that was a client I had when I was working for an accounting company, but I still had difficult clients that I took on when I got started. There is no reason to make our lives miserable potentially, that affects our relationships. We come home complaining about this client. My poor wife has heard it all. I try to do my best to not unload these things, but not taking on a client like that and just having my lead generation dialed in so that I could, in very short order, work with the clients that were easy to work with, that would pay me what I was worth. That's what I would have done differently. My goodness, life is short. So I want to do as much as I can to expedite my results, buy my time back, and not work with people that are going to drive me insane. Okay. I don't want to do that. And nobody should want to do that when there's a better alternative out there. Those are the two biggest things I would do differently if I were starting my business now. I would start advertising a lot sooner, in like the 25K to 50K annual revenue. When you're at that point, that's when I'd say, like, look, go for it. We have some people that start advertising from day one, and that's really cool too, because again, you can just get there quicker. And then the second thing I would do is I would hold out. And again, if you've got your lead generation dialed in, you don't have to hold. It's not like we're holding out for months and years here. I would hold out and I would work with only the clients that were a good fit, that were paying me what they were worth, where I enjoyed the work, where the owners were fun to work with. Because, hey, like I said, business owners are people, and some people are difficult, and some people are really cool to work with. And the ones that are really cool to work with will make your life really, really fun. I mean, they will send you, you'll do a good job for them. They'll recognize that and appreciate that. You make a mistake, they're like, hey, that's cool. That happens. Let's move on. They will send you, like, they'll give you gifts. We're not bookkeepers because we're expending gifts around the holidays, but like my best clients would send me gifts around the holidays. I'm like, geez. Meanwhile, I've got other clients who, well, back in the early days, that would want to call me on the weekends or call me the day before Christmas to complain about something. It's like, who do you want to work with? Because they're both out there. And so that's what I would have done. I would have waited and just worked with the clients that were the right clients. Okay. So I'll answer some more questions. So feel free, no matter where you're watching this, whether it's on LinkedIn, in the Facebook group, or on YouTube, type your questions in. I'll answer a few more questions before I wrap things up. But those are the two biggest things I would do differently in my business if I were starting it today. Kendra on YouTube, you're saying, do you teach how to start an agency? I am a mom of 2, 4 years and 3 months. Oh, very cool. We've got a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So we're past the 3-month stage, thankfully, with that one. Yikes, he was a handful. That works full-time and have always dreamt of starting an agency. Kendra, are you talking about like a bookkeeping agency, like a bookkeeping business where you're not necessarily doing the work, but you've got some people that you're outsourcing the work to? Let me know. Type into the chat there and let me know what you're looking for. Or if you're looking like to start a marketing agency, what kind of agency? Sounds like you're probably trying to start a bookkeeping business, but you're more planning on focusing on like client communication, business development, and then having a staff that kind of does a lot of the work. Okay, cool. So if that's the case, yeah, absolutely. We have lots of people in the program that do that. Some people do that with their very first client. Like they don't do any of the work at all. This is an opportunity, like owning a bookkeeping business is, I mean, I'm not the only person out there that talks about how great it is. And that's because it's true. Like the work is fulfilling, but if you don't find bookkeeping to be particularly thrilling, but you do have a genuine interest in like entrepreneurship, working with small businesses, like the product that we create, the information that we create that helps small businesses grow, that, if you're an entrepreneur, should excite you. Okay. And if that's the case, then you absolutely can have a staff that does the work for you. I mean, we like I said, we've got lots of people in the program that just focus on client communication. And if you have the right staff, sometimes you don't have to do a lot of client communication. I've got people who I've got a staff person that basically does all the client communication for me, as well as like a lot of the bookkeeping work on a monthly basis that needs to be done. So that's really cool. But I do still communicate with my clients every once in a while, let them know I'm still alive. But again, like let's remember what clients really care about. They care about whether or not they're getting their problems solved and reaching their goals. If they're getting value, they really don't care who they're talking to. Okay, whether it be me. I mean, I like to think I'm, the best thing since sliced bread for my clients, but the truth is they care a lot less about me than they do the results that they're getting. Okay, so if they're talking to my, one of the people on my staff, then that's fine. That's fine by them. So they focus on that. They also focus on just like taking consultation calls. So yeah, absolutely. We can help you with that. Absolutely, Kendra. Let's see. Joe. Hey, Joe. On YouTube, is the contract with the client renewable yearly? Typically, what we do with engagement letters with bookkeeping clients is it's like a month to month. It's just month to month. It's an engagement letter, and it's just month to month. They can cancel within 30 days, with 30 days notice, something like that. What you will find is that bookkeeping clients typically stay with us on average about 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years. So, that's pretty darn good. And again, that's as long as we're just doing what we do, doing what we should be doing. When we talk about, how long clients stay with us, and let me just kind of tie this back to the first thing I would have done differently, which is start advertising a lot sooner. It helps us determine how much we should be willing to pay to get a client. Okay, when we're talking about marketing and advertising, we really should be focusing on our return at the end of the day. Like, are we getting a return on it? If we're spending money on advertising, are we getting money back? And let me just put this into context for you. If you wanted to go out and just buy a bookkeeping business, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to do all the marketing work, I just want to buy a bookkeeping business, you can do that. Lots of people sell their bookkeeping businesses. Okay, there are websites out there where you can buy a bookkeeping business. Generally, you will spend anywhere between 1 and 1.5 times annual revenue to buy that bookkeeping business. Okay, so if the bookkeeping business is doing $100,000 in annual revenue, then you are going to spend anywhere between $100,000 and $150,000 to buy those clients, which is essentially what you're doing. You're buying the clients. Okay, $100,000 to $150,000, which may seem like, geez, like if I spend, let's say conservatively, I spend $100,000 to get that business. They're paying me $100,000 a year. I just break even for the first year. Well, yeah, you do. You do. However, look at the lifetime value of this client. Okay. Again, as bookkeeping business owners, we're not just generating income, we are building wealth. Okay. So we're talking about over the long term. And when I say long term, I'm not talking about 30, 50 years. I'm talking about 5, 10 years. If we're going to own our businesses for 5 years, I mean, hey, 5 years goes by like that. Okay. But let's look at what happens over 5 years. Over 5 years, that $100,000 a year, that's $500,000. And you spent $100,000 to get it. You've made yourself $400,000. And you saved yourself how much time? How much time? Not having to build and scratch and market and get your way to $100,000 on your own. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. When you advertise your business, you actually spend a lot less than 1 times annual revenue to get a client. For example, to get a $1,000 a month client, that represents $12,000 of annual revenue. Okay. You should be willing to pay $12,000 to get that client. Okay. That's what kind of the market rate is. $12,000 is going to net you over the course of 5 years, $60,000. You only spent $12,000 to get that client. You've made yourself a lot of money. However, if you're advertising properly, you can get clients for much cheaper than 12 grand, like that $1,000 a month client. You can get $1,000 a month client. You can spend, with the right marketing company and the right like processes, and that like the company works with bookkeeping firms and they've got proven results in this space. You can easily spend 2 grand and get $1,000 a month client. You spend 2 grand, you get $1,000 a month client. So now after 2 months, you've broken even. So the rest of the year, the 10 grand you'll make this year is profit. The 12 grand you'll make next year is profit. The 12 grand you'll make next year is profit. It is really, really profitable. You can understand how like advertising, again, it's all about return. If you can work with somebody that can get you that return, find the money. Okay. Find the money. That's what I would have done differently. Okay. Find the money. So Joe, it's not renewable yearly. It's like a month to month basis, but in general, you'll have clients that stay with you anywhere between 5 and 7 years. Okay. That's kind of the average for bookkeepers. So when you're looking at, your marketing efforts and how much time you're spending on clients and how difficult they are, keep those things in mind. Okay, keep those things in mind. If it costs you $2,000 to get $1,000 a month client, that's great. That's financially, it makes sense. However, if you've got a client that is difficult and is challenging, okay, 5 to 7 years, the lifetime value might be good. I might be generating a lot of income, but I might have to either put up with this person for 5 to 7 years, or I'm going to have to go through some sort of process where I have to like disengage, which is not a difficult process, but sometimes people just would rather not have to deal with having a conversation with the client about not working with them anymore. So that's how that works, Joe. That's how that works. Hey, Troy, over on LinkedIn, what does the monthly work look like for a client willing to pay $1,000 a month? Typically, like our $1,000 a month clients are pretty basic when it comes to, coding transactions, reconciliations for accounts. Might be a handful of accounts, both credit card and bank accounts. We're probably doing a little bit of work on payroll, not a lot, but a little bit of work on payroll. We may be generating financial statements, and we're always generating financial statements and kind of reviewing those with the clients. Those are kind of the basics. There might be some sales tax thrown in. Very seldom is it inventory. More frequently, it's accounts payable. So doing some accounts payable work, but it's all very straightforward. It's if you take the $300 a month clients, those are clients that have like one bank, one credit card. They don't do any invoicing, so they just get income deposited to the bank. So you just code it in the bank feeds and it goes straight to income. They might have payroll. I've got one $300 a month client, or I got a bunch of them that have payroll, but it's done through QuickBooks, and they actually are the ones that do all the work. So I don't have to do anything when it comes to payroll. $1,000 a month client is just typically a client with that's a little larger than those $300 a month clients, but you're doing a lot of the same things with the exception of maybe a little bit more participation with payroll and maybe like some accounts payable, potentially sales tax, things like that. But pretty straightforward. I mean, you can do just basic bookkeeping for clients and charge up to around $3,000. Around $3,000. It's just like basic bookkeeping without any like additional sort of advisory services like cash flow and budgeting. You can offer those things, but they're certainly not necessary. A $3,000 a month client is just going to be a client with more moving parts, larger. Think about a restaurant. They've got employees, they've got tips, they've got food costs, they've got marketing, they've got all these things that we normally handle, but it's just on a bigger scale, like more moving parts. We've got to integrate QuickBooks with their point of sale system, those types of things. No, not rocket science at all, but just more moving parts. Okay. All right. Ed, you're saying, where do you suggest starting advertising your business? If we're talking about advertising, you're going to be serious about advertising. You've got a budget. You don't need a big budget. I mean, we help people, we generate leads for people, and we generate, a couple $100 a month, and you can get calls. Like, and if you don't have a few $100 a month to get started on advertising, and that's if you're doing it on your own, then I wouldn't start it. I would focus on organic marketing methods. Okay, you want to have a budget. Okay, you want to have a budget. If you want a marketing company or somebody that just does this, you know, works with bookkeeping companies, just kind of does it, knows how to do this for you. Be willing to spend in the $2,000 a month range for that. And that's all in, which includes ad spend and the time it takes for the marketing company to do that work. Okay, so that's kind of where you want to be. Again, I would jump at the opportunities to spend $2,000 a month to get somebody to just generate calls for me. I would have jumped at that opportunity back a lot earlier, back when I was just at about 25 to 50K in revenue. For the reasons we talked about, the math is just like beyond makes sense. Okay. All right, Darnell, does your course include technical use of QuickBooks at all? Client onboarding, chart of accounts, reconciliations, etc. Yes, we ensure that you leave knowing two things. Well, the two biggest things. Got to be a great bookkeeper, including helping you get certified. You got to be great at getting clients. Okay, those are the two things that we help everybody do through the program. Plus, you'll learn how to price engagements. You'll learn how to handle consultations so you can close more of those deals on the phone. You get templates that help you kind of just get everything started. And of course, we support you both while you're training and as you work with clients. So we'll help you with client work as well. Okay, so that's my mentorship program. If you have questions about the link to like my free training video is in the description, but you can also watch that first. I mean, that's the best first place to go because it actually gives you real information that you can use to get started right away. Okay, I'll show you how to get QuickBooks for free. I'll show you how to get free training, show you the top 2 ways of marketing your business, organic. Lots of cool stuff. You can actually use that stuff without doing anything, but details on my mentorship program are at the end. I think we just we're about to cross the 5,000 mark in terms of the people that we've helped. So that's been really cool. Been really, really cool. Quentin. Hey, Quentin. Had a flooring company owner call me yesterday who wants my services. Any tips? Love it. He has 250 transactions a month and asked if I was a CPA and told him I was not. I would say, have a conversation with him. Okay. Have a conversation with him and just be very, very curious. Don't sell your services. Be very curious about his business, what he's having problems with, what's working, what's not, who's been doing the bookkeeping, what's that process look like. Okay. Be very, very, inquisitive. Okay. Find out what he's, what like his real problems are. When it comes to like him asking if you're a CPA, that's great. We're never lying, especially when we're not going to put ourselves out as a CPA. We'll get the Board of Accountancy after us. No, I'm not a CPA. Why do you ask? Find out why he's asking. He may think he wants a CPA. He may think he needs a CPA, somebody to do both bookkeeping and taxes. And once you get done explaining why there's a benefit to having somebody over here doing the bookkeeping, helping him pay as little as, helping him maximize profit, and a tax pro over here making sure he's minimizing his taxes, that there are 2 sets of eyes on things, checks and balances. Rarely, if ever, do they realize, it's still like one person to do both. If one person's doing both, and hey, this is my value. Like I was a CPA who did both. Okay, so I just wouldn't bring this up on calls. But a person who does both, if a mistake happens on the books, that is going to fall on the tax return. It just is. If somebody's doing both, just the way it's going to be. So that checks and balances, that 2 sets of eyes, that gives clients, like when the clients hear that, they're like, okay, maybe I do want 2 people doing that. So yeah, just be very inquisitive. You're saying here, I know somebody doing his AR. That's great. Most of the clients we work with, they've got there's somebody in-house sending out invoices, creating invoices, things like that. Okay, so ask how he gets paid. Ask how he pays bills. Get a feel for things, but spend most of the time talking about his business and the problems he's having, because that's what he's looking for. He's not looking for a bookkeeper. He's looking for a solution to his problems. And he believes that a bookkeeper is going to solve those problems. So let's find out what they are. Okay. By doing that and spending a lot of time asking those questions about where they're at, we are just going to psychologically be flipping switches in his head, that make him feel cared for, that make him feel like, wow, this person's asking a lot of questions and really kind of digging deep and really trying to understand where my challenges are and what my frustrations are. Like, this is somebody that I could see helping me grow my business. And at the end of the day, that's what they want. Okay. Spend a lot of time doing that, Quentin. In my mentorship program, we have in module, in the closing the deal module, so that's module 8, as well as the bonus module, we've got the consultation questionnaire. Okay. Gives you the questions to ask as you walk through. Okay. All right. I think I'm all caught up on chats and questions and things like that. If you are watching the replay, feel free to type questions in because I get notified about those and I'll come back and answer those. Okay. As well. So again, that's it. Those two things are the two biggest things I would have done differently if I were starting my bookkeeping business today. Number one, I would have started advertising my business a lot sooner. I started when I was at about 75K in revenue. I probably would have started when I was about 25K, maybe up to 50K in annual revenue. I would have started advertising sooner, helped me buy back my time, spend time with my family, help me get to my goals quicker. All right. Number two, I would have been a lot more selective about the clients that I worked with, that I brought on. Okay. I wouldn't work with problematic clients, clients that were difficult. I wouldn't work with people that weren't paying me what I was worth. Because again, both of those things, the opportunity cost of spending time doing that work, something is better than nothing, is too great. That opportunity cost is steep. Okay. Do not make that mistake. Learn from me. Okay, learn from me. So that's it. That's pretty much it. So I will go ahead and wrap things up for today. As you know, every Tuesday, I go live at 10 a.m. Pacific time, giving you everything you need to add 6 figures of bookkeeping revenue to your business. So feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook, leave comments, questions, no matter what platform you're watching this on, and I will get back to you. So until next week, have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.